All right. My name is Bruce Lombardo. You'll see me in the corner to the right, and you'll see my co host, Janet from Another Planet, taking primary spot. Tonight, we are discussing the 1993 Western action classic, Tombstone, starring Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Powers Booth, and Michael Biehn, with a host of other fantastic individuals that round out the cast. This movie was directed by George P. Cosmatos and Kevin Jarre for the Charlton Heston scenes of it. The writer was Kevin Jarre, and this is one of those movies that I think everybody that has a value for American history should watch. Janet, you were the one who selected our fine film. I'd like to know what it was that made you want to pop this for our 8th of August 2022 stream.
Well, ever since I saw the new movie, the new Maverick movie, seeing Val Kilmer in it, it made me think about him in my favorite role he was ever in as Doc Holliday in this movie. So after I saw him in that, I couldn't stop thinking about, wow, I need to watch Tombstone again because I just thought he was phenomenal in this movie as the character that he portrayed. So that's the reason why I chose Tombstone this week to watch. And I'm glad I did because it was so good. I really, really enjoyed it. And I thought it was awesome. But the opening scene where the narrator is talking about the city of Tombstone and how it came to be, that was very detailed, even though, it's embellished a little bit, from history because everything isn't always like it is in the movies. But the scene where they were called, I guess the cowboys is what they called them, the gentlemen that wore the red sashes. And there was supposedly about 100 of them. And they were just all outlaws that just liked to push people around, and everyone was afraid of them, except it seems that Wyatt Earp and his brothers from the movie were the ones that were able to come in and get the town back into law and order, thanks to Virgil, basically, the older brother that couldn't stand the fact that he was making money hand over fist at the people's behest or whatever. But I just thought it was really good. Really enjoyed it. The aspect of the brothers being very close, even though they spent many years apart and only saw each other in small increments. Because in the opening scene, when they're getting off the train, after they traveled, I think they left Dodge City to go to Tombstone, and wanting to open their own
they opened a business
yeah,
together.
they wanted to open some kind of business, but I don't think they specifically were thinking of just doing a casino or something like that. I keep getting
You have a few things in play too, because Wyatt's wife, Maddie Blaylock, she was becoming more dependent on Londanium, or I think that's how you pronounce it.
yeah, it's like opium.
Yeah, she's getting to be a dependent woman on this, and she was not sociable.
I think she was already in real life. See, that's part of the thing is that the first couple times I watched Tombstone, I did a lot of deep diving into different aspects from each of the real life characters that were portrayed on the film, especially Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday and Virgil, and a couple of the cowboys, the more famous ones. I'm trying to remember the one. Oh, it's terrible. I'm so bad with names. I got this printed out here. The part that the lead cowboy, the actor that played the lead cowboy.
Bill Brocious, and then Michael Biehn played Johnny Ringo.
Well, okay, the character played the other one.
Brocious?
No, it is something. Darn it. I can't remember. Miles Booth's character.
Powers Booth played Curly Bill.
Yeah, Curly Bill. Okay, like I looked up Curly Bill and a couple of these other characters, and I keep getting like different information than was actually in the movie because they tried to make it more flamboyant and they made it more of into a romance around uh, the actress and Wyatt Earp, Josephine Marcus. I think that's what her name. Yeah, it was his common law wife. Because in the actual reality, he was married quite a few times. And the first time he was married, she died. And then he got married again. And she wanted to get a divorce, but he wouldn't give her one. I think her name was Sally Heckle, something like that. And she had met some guy, another guy from Arizona, and he wouldn't give her a divorce. So him and Josephine were like common law husband and wife from like 1882 to like 18 or 1929 when he died. So they were together a long time. And they did travel from one town to another in real life. So there was a lot of similarities that they put in there, but they were really good at this movie was really good at um, making the romance so strong that it drew in the women, for the movie, actually, not just because Val Kilmer was in it or Kurt Russell, even Sam Elliott. I mean, they're all very attractive men and very good actors, very manly and robust, which you just don't see that much anymore in movies. But that's one of the things I really loved about it. It wasn't just the aspect of them being cowboys. They were just so manly and not afraid to be men and play their part as a man. Holding the ladies' hands, opening the door for them, things like that. Very gentlemanly, but showing that they were also very uh, willing to step up to the plate to take somebody out if they felt like they were in the wrong, which I really liked about this movie because it definitely showed what it showed all of us or anyone that watched it what we dreamed the Wild West would be like and why so many young children growing up watching some of these Wild West TV shows and movies with John Wayne and the other famous actors, why a young kid would want to play cowboys and Indians and run around on his little stick horse and pretend to be an Indian or not an Indian or a cowboy because they were so prominent in our past and how the Wild West is what brought us to where we are today. So I just loved it. I mean, to me, everything about this movie portrayed that as a place that all of us, I mean, I don't know anyone that would not want to go back to the Wild West if they could go back for a short amount of time to travel back in time and get to go there and actually interact. I mean, that's why the TV shows like Westworld and movies like Westworld and stuff are so popular, is because people would love to dress up in all the clothing and go back and be in an actual shootout and stuff if they knew they weren't going to really die. But it was just over the top when it came to the fighting and the reality of it. Like when he's playing the Pharaoh at the Pharaoh table after he took over I think it was the Oriental was the name of the saloon. And he went in and he got that one guy out by smashing him in the face with his gun, with his own weapon. I just thought that was really good. I had written down.
You skinned that smoke wagon.
Yeah, it was just so good. But the thing is, I wrote down a couple of the. Let me see. I got them written down in my notebook here. A couple of the lines that I thought were so phenomenal from the actual movie, like when he said, "Are you going to do something or just stand there and bleed?" That's an icon. I mean, there was so many iconic lines in this movie from lots of different characters. It wasn't just just Wyatt Earp. They let other people do it too, but it was like in another scene where what was her name again? Josephine is
Josephine
on
Martin.
her white horse, and he comes riding up, and he sees her, and he's like, oh God, because he knows he's attracted to her, and she's attracted to him, but he knows he's married, and he wants to be an oak. He wants to stay strong to his marriage vows. And he had already told his younger brother Morgan, and Doc Holliday, that he was not going to slide on what he thought was wrong for him to do, at least for the movie. At least that's how they portrayed it. But when when he goes up to her, and he's talking about how she her horse was in season or whatever, and stuff like that. That whole aspect of the way that they interacted was very, I thought, very, very romantic, and that she was very bold. And
Yes. I like a tall glass of that water.
Oh yeah, when she was like, "Who's that tall glass of water?" But the thing is, like when she said, the line was, she said, "I'm a woman who likes men. If that means that I'm not a lady, then I'm not a lady." And I love that line, because I feel that way. I feel like, yeah, I can put some lipstick on, some perfume, earrings, and maybe a sexy outfit or whatever, and I'm a woman, but it's not always meaning I want to be a lady, if that makes any sense, because I rather be myself, and I'm not always a lady. So I really like that. I thought that was a very iconic line uh, from an actual woman in a movie, portraying a woman. Because and from in the 1800s, which you wouldn't normally see. So I really thought that was a really good character, and I thought that she did a very good job at portraying that woman, that specific type of woman.
I don't know. I don't associate with weak men, not men that would shirk away from a woman like Dana Delaney
Hmm.
looking like that. My friends that I have a lot of faith in them that they would do the proper thing if it's time for them to make manly moves with a woman like that. Hey, Tom, you take care. I'm going to shake your hand, and if you don't go out tonight blowing every seed in your nutsack, you fail. Good job.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I view it. I'm not a cowboy by any means, but I recognize when men must be men to women.
Yeah, I definitely would say that. But the I don't know, just the way that they let her be womanly, very feminine, like when she was riding that horse, side saddle. Men think they're all that, and they can ride a horse galloping down the side of a mountain, riding it with straps, with a leg on each side. Think about it as a man trying to sit on the saddle with your knee in front of you, sitting like a lady, because a lady would not sit on a horse with their legs on each side of the horse. And that whole scene was just, it really brought back memories, because I remember watching my mother when she would go visit, and I had my own little pony, but watching my mother ride around a side saddle a couple times, and it was hard. I mean, I couldn't even do it. A couple times I got to sit on it just to see whether I could do it. Now, just walking around, it's very easy. But as the horse starts to gain momentum, especially if they're trotting, I don't know if you've ever ridden a horse before,
Yes.
but a trot is like
It
that.
hurts your balls.
Oh, it hurts. But the thing is, it's a constant juggle. You're just bouncing up and down constantly. And oh man, it tenses every muscle in your body to just stay on. And horses seem to like to trot, because you have to kick them a little more to get them to go a little faster, to stop with the trotting and start galloping, where it's easier to ride, where it's a more fluent motion as you're riding, even bareback. And I used to ride bareback because I had a really beautiful pony that would, it was a bay mare, and she was just adored that horse. She was so gentle and good. But it's just hard just to see her do that. I was shocked to be able to see the woman, whoever it was, the stunt woman that portrayed her, going across actual territory on a horse side saddle was just shocking. And the fact that they even put it in the movie, I thought was I was surprised because I didn't really focus that much on it before until I watched it this time on Saturday to write down some notes and things like that about it. I was really surprised that they made it that authentic by putting that type of stuff into the actual movie, which I really thought was great. So I really liked that whole thing. But let's see. And then the part where he was saying, uh, yeah, when you get a point in your life where you realize that you want more, in your relationship, like when she said that, what would you want to do if you could do anything? And when she said that she wanted room service, and he thought that was funny. But when he went back and he told Maddie about it and talked to her and asked her what she thought, and she didn't respond in the way that I think he was wanting to see if she would, because I do think he really did care about her because he had been with her for so long, and that kind of drew a wedge between the two of them from their person, from the movie aspect. I mean, I don't really know in real life whether that's part of the problem. I think mostly the drugs was probably the problem, but in the movie aspect, from that moment on, you could tell that he looked at her differently when she didn't respond the way that he wanted her to respond when she said that, while she was laying in bed, when he said, would you want to just live on room service the rest of our lives? And she was like, Wyatt, what are you talking about? So that was kind of a sad scene for me because I realized that uh, he was wanting more out of life than what she was going to be able to give him. So, that was kind of sad.
Yeah.
And let's see, what else did I have written down? Oh, okay. One of the things that I thought was really, really good was the scene where the actors were doing their show when they went to I'm trying to remember the name of the theater. Cannot remember. Birdcage Theater, I think. And they're all in there. And I remember thinking, if there are really a bunch of hoodlums like that inside of a theater watching and shooting their weapons off, wouldn't the roof leak all the time? So I know they probably just did that just for the movie to make it seem like they would all be rowdy like that and shooting up the ceiling and stuff. But I don't think they could have really done that in real life because the building wouldn't last very long if every time it rained or whatever. I guess they wouldn't get that much rain, huh? In Texas or wherever it was. I think it was Texas or New Mexico.
I think it's New Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico. And I just love that scene. But the scene, I'm trying to remember the young actor, the young blonde actor. I think he was like a bank person or something like that. And that Curly Bill had sit down beside him when they were watching the show at the Birdcage Theater. I think that he was a very feminine male character in the movie, and that they seemed nice to him, but I think they kept him around. I don't know why, because maybe because he bought drinks for them, or they just liked having him because they like to make fun of him and use him in the butt, of their jokes or whatever type of thing. But uh, I really his character really wasn't that important for the movie, for the movie to flow properly. But it kind of showed to me. It showed that even though they were horrible, supposedly outlaws, the cowboys were. Some of them, like Curly Bill and a few others, did treat other people with a little more respect than some of them. Some of the cowboys were just total scumbags and didn't give a crap about anybody. But like Ike was one of the really bad ones. I think his character was like really tyrannical, and he treated people just really, really bad. And I think they were trying to show the different personalities types that were all in this group and how they worked together to get what they wanted from each town that they would go to, I guess. But I don't know. I'm not 100% positive about that aspect of it, but that's how I saw it, I guess, as a woman certain things would come out to me. And I guess I spend a little bit too much time enveloping the different, absorbing the different personality types of the people and how they interact with each other and why that's important. But like when they arrive in town with their women and they're all talking about, striking it rich and making some money so they can leave. And they all talked about leaving and starting their own places, like, their own little ranch or something like that with all the money they're going to make in the city of Tombstone, because it's an up and coming cosmopolitan type hub. So they thought one day it would be like, San Francisco or one of these other big cities. But and I guess it was because it was a mining town and there was lots of people, that would go through the town to try to make it rich. People would come with money from other cities and lose everything in the casinos and then have to leave because they were bankrupt or whatever. So it did show a little bit of that type of stuff when they were doing the Pharaoh card game, when you saw them betting and they were laying all the money and the deeds and things like that out and making their bets, because that's how the Earps, the brothers, made up their fortune for the owner of this casino. So when they took over and kept the dregs out of it, a lot of people started going there because they felt like it was more fair, even though, you're never going to win every night against the house. The house is always, going to take in the biggest cut of the money. So, Tombstone was in Arizona. I just saw it in the chat. So, well, I'm sorry. I didn't really pay that much attention to what town it was in or what state. I just paid attention to the name of the town. But it was very believable that it was definitely in a desert, the desert. And the scene that they did when the cowboys went to that wedding and shot up the wedding and stuff, and then they dragged the young bride into the church, and they didn't show Ringo and Curly Bill and a few of the other major cowboys dragging the woman in there and doing whatever, which we pretty much assumed they were probably raping her and stuff in there, that they were bad guys. This was a real bad group of guys, and they deserved everything they got later on in the movie. But it just seemed like Ike Clanton got away with everything. I really wanted to see him bite the big one, but he never did. He always whined and cried his way out of everything, turning into a total pussy. But that actor was really good. He is a
really good bad guy.
Yeah, he did really good job at being believable that you want to hate him and you want him to die, which I guess is not really good for people to want to see someone perish in a movie. But he was good enough to make you not like him. And I think that's very important. Here, I'm looking at my DVD because I have the Tombstone Collector's Edition, and it opens up and it has this 2 DVDs in it. And a bunch of paperwork, and has tons of pictures. Really, really nice. I remember when I bought it because I was like, this movie was so good when I went to the movie theater to see it. So I bought that and I have it in here. And I watched a little bit of the different stuff they were talking about, different things about the different card games and things like that about it. And it was really interesting. But let's see, what am my other part on here? I don't want to do that part yet because that's at the end. But when the scenes where Doc Holliday's woman, when she was very attractive, I remember the first time I saw Tombstone, I was enamored by this woman. I thought she was breathtakingly beautiful. So if I was a man, I probably would have she would have been right up my alley.
Talking about Daniel Delaney as Josephine Marcus?
No, the other one. I'm trying to look for her name. The woman that played Doc Holliday's girl. I cannot remember her name. That's the one thing I didn't print out was the stuff I get from IMDb for that actress. But she was gorgeous. She was very attractive, and she was very believable at being loyal to Doc Holliday. She definitely
Yes.
was a very loyal.
Maroney.
What was her name?
Kate. Big Nose Kate Aroni, I believe.
Yeah, Kate. Yeah, Kate. I had her name written down, Kate, but I didn't know.
Played by Joanna Pacula.
But she was gorgeous. Now she was. If I could look like her, I would. That would be worth it to me. She is very, very pretty, at least in my point of view. I think she's beautiful. But the scene, I absolutely love the scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie when Doc is in bed and the doctor's in there with him, and he's telling him that he needs to curb his uh, marital tendencies, and she's listening while she's walking around out there on the balcony, and then she goes back in the room after the doctor leaves, and she lights a cigarette and gives it to him. And they had what filterless cigarettes back then, as you rolled your own, and she's like starts to kiss him and tell him what that she's a good woman for him, that she's always taking care of him, and that she'll always be there for him. And he's like, he said, it's true, you are a good woman, but then again, you may be the Antichrist.
Again, you may be the Antichrist.
Yeah,
I love his character in this movie.
Yeah, he was so believable, and making him look so pale. Even his lips were pale because his oxygen level was so low because his lungs was pretty much destroyed from his disease. But I just Val Kilmer was just phenomenal at Doc Holliday, and everyone knew him. I mean, when he came walking up from the one scene where the dweeb had been taken out of the casino that they decided they were going to run, the Oriental, and he was pissed, and he went and got his rifle and was coming up there, and he sees Wyatt Earp stand up there, and he doesn't know who he is. He never did find out what his name was until they were out in the street. And then he sees Doc Holliday standing there, and he's like looking dumbfounded. He's like, Doc, what are you doing here? Whatever, he's kind of surprised. And then he finds out it's Wyatt Earp. And then they just keep on their conversation. And then he turns and he says, what are you still doing here? I thought you'd left. Or like, because you may leave, you may go now, or whatever. Like he's just a little peon roach or something. I just thought that scene was really good too. But you could tell that Doc was very prideful. He always dressed to the nines. He always, wanted to wear the best of the best. And well, he could afford it, I guess, because he was so good at playing cards and everything. And they really didn't. They did try to make innuendos in the movie that he cheated. That's how he won all the time. But you never did see him pull an ace out of his sleeve or anything like that. So it was basically innuendos. You don't know for sure that he cheated. So, except the one scene when he's leaving that one casino to go join the Earp brothers in Tombstone with Kate, is when they're leaving and he's got the two pistols out and everybody's like, wanting to do something, but nobody wants to die. So they just
nobody wants to die at this point. Nobody's willing to endanger himself that much.
Yeah. So he walks out and then he takes the money off the table there. I think it was a roulette table, and there's stacks of cash there. Now he took that. Now he definitely stole that money because he didn't win it during that card game that he got in the fight over. So he definitely would rob people. He had broke the law, but I never saw him cheat, at cards. At any of the card games that you saw him, he'd sit there for 36 hours to play cards, but I never did get to see him cheat. So it was kind of sad that he really was a criminal. You know what I mean? It made me feel kind of a little tiny bit bad that I was rooting for someone that was really a criminal, but I still rooted for him. I'll have to admit that. I am so thankful that I did not live back then, because I can't even imagine how bad everybody smelled. I mean, with the few people that were able to actually bathe on a daily basis, and women not being able to shave their legs every day and things like that, it must have been I'm just thankful. I'm just very thankful. I don't know why I think about things like that.
The movie that actually emphasized that was 315 to Yuma. And I don't remember if it was the documentary attached to that CD or DVD, or if it was the actual text that was spoken during the movie as part of the script. But I remember the character that was Christian Bale's wife, she said that this outfit sucks. And it was the most uncomfortable shit she's ever worn for a paycheck. And I want to say it was on the DVD for the documentary. And I'll admit, like most cowgirl outfits, most dancing girl outfits are not that attractive. Like they exist only to be like revealing and to entice you enough to pay the fee so you can get the girl to strip out of it. That's it.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's one of the things I did research about the women wearing the bustier or the corset because they didn't have bras. They wore this thing, and I even got one years ago when after this movie came out because I thought it was so cool. Okay, and I started researching about corsets and stuff, and man, I'm telling you, they're hard to get on, especially those, and because you have to lace them up and everything, and some of them had different types of hooks, not like they use today. They're easy to get on and off. These were really hard to get on because you had to have it tight enough to where it pushed everything up.
Yes.
It pushes everything up, and it
Like
kind
a
of
boot fountain.
yeah, and you'd have this little shirt under it that was like gathered, and when you put that underneath the corset, it pushed up your assets up to that, and they didn't flop out because you had that little. It's almost like a gauzy type linen shirt underneath, and that's what held everything in place. It really wasn't like a brassiere or anything. It was just a fabric, but it would hold everything up there. So if you did have ample assets, it would definitely be where people would
Accentuate.
be able to see them if you wore
It
the
would
right.
put them front and center.
Yeah, if you wore the right collar for certain women, they would have lace over it because most ladies didn't really show their cleavage and things like that. And all those women in the casinos and in the brothels, they didn't really wear a lot of cover because that was what they showed off. But when they actually had sex with the guys, most of the guys would only pay the lower amount of money. So the women really wouldn't take all their clothes off. They would either lift up their dress or, things like that. So I can't even imagine what their clothes must have smelled like or anything like that. So we'll get past that. It must be really, really nasty. That's all I can. That's all I can tell you. I can talk
It
about
smells
the
like
dress.
Newports and desperation. Ew. In Dodge City on a Saturday. Ah.
Oh God! But you got to remember, they had smoking in there. People were smoking cigars. They were smoking pipes.
I love smoking.
Well,
I do, because it kills your sense of smell.
yeah, but the thing is, if you smoke, okay, let's say you smoke a cigar and a couple pipes, okay, even women, a lot of women smoked the smaller cigars back then, even the ladies, and some of them would dip snuff, okay, because I remember my grandma would dip snuff, and sometimes she would have this little thing where she'd open this little thing and she'd sniff it. So I don't know what that was, snuff, some type of snuff that you sniff, but they had all those things then, but they didn't have access to clean water to bathe in all the time. So only the richer people actually were able to take a bath when they did. And so you can imagine when you wear the same clothes, stockings, bustier, corset, or any of this stuff, and you're wearing the same thing every single day. Okay. And it's getting smoke on it. It's getting snuff on it. It's getting other bodily fluids on it. And a lot of it was made with wool. Okay, you got to think about that. That's because I looked all this stuff up, and I was very thankful that I don't wear those things. I wear lots of cotton and stuff, so I'm lucky when it comes to that. But it must have really reeked. That's all I can think of, and that's why a lot of them would wear the flowers, pinned on their clothing and stuff, because like carnations and things like that, if they could get them, would help. The smell overcomes, and they wear lots of perfumes. That's another thing to cover up the stench, I guess. So you definitely, when you got yourself a good looking woman, you wanted to keep her away from the brothel and keep her at home. So at least you knew that you were the only one getting her. So she probably didn't smell as bad.
Yeah, there's a problem with Wyatt Earp's wife at the start of this movie. She was a former prostitute.
Yes.
That was not a good choice for Wyatt.
Well, it was at the time because let me see. I have it written down how long they were together because she had run off and died somewhere else from a drug overdose.
Yep.
It says Maddie, they were together from 1878 to 1881. So they were together for, a pretty long time.
In 2022 parlance, yes, 3 years was a long time.
I mean, yeah, in the Wild West in the 1800s.
They lasted longer than COVID.
Yeah, but they lasted longer than a lot of people last today in relationships. So
I have COVID as my mid-tier relationship because it's been about 2.5 years since we met COVID.
but there was a scene where let's see. Okay, when after they went after the confrontation out in the street where Maddie got to see Wyatt and him looking at the other woman, Josephine, and she confronts him about the other woman, and she asks him in their room. She asks him to tell the other woman that he loves her in front of the other woman. Do you remember that scene?
Yes.
Okay. Well, and when she sees the look on his face, she realizes that he won't do it, that it's over, basically. At that time, I did cry, and I've seen this movie like 60 times. So when I was really intently watching it, my eyes welled up with tears because I could actually feel, even though she basically did it to herself, mostly simply for the fact that she was become a drug addict and she wasn't there enough for him. She wasn't there to fill the void for him after a long day, of working, trying to make money, for them to go off and be on their own. And she must have been very comforting to him at whatever time when he was the lawman, because that's when he met her. It was after he was, he was still a lawman. He was about to leave being a lawman and start on his own to try to make some money. And he also, I researched, he loved boxing.
Yes.
And
he loved the referee boxing.
Yeah, and he was the referee for lots of big boxing matches and things like that. So if you think about those type of aspects, that's why a woman like Maddie would be in his life, because he spent a lot of time mingling and hanging out with people in that aspect, with prostitutes and, people that really were not law abiding when it came to him earning money, because that's how he had to make the money, and he wanted to make it quickly. So I'm not saying he cheated, but he hung with people he knew cheated. You know what I mean?
I'm not upset about this. I mean,
no, I know. I'm not either. I mean, that was the Wild West. That's why so many people are intrigued by it, is because there's so many aspects of different things, riding horseback, roping cattle, riding, just riding in the open range type of thing. And the confrontations that you might have with other outlaws and things like that, that aspect of it. Mining your own gold mine or silver mine or any of those types of mines, things like that. That was what was intriguing to a lot of people that are interested in Westerns, this type of Western, because the whole thing is conquest, going out and forging your way in uncharted territory. Who's not interested in doing something like that, especially a real man? Real men want conquest. They want to go out and break off a chunk of their own land and make something of it. And what better way to do it with a good looking woman that can cook, that's there for you every night when you're ready to eat and go to bed, you know.
She doesn't cook and put out. I mean, she's done.
What good was she then,
That,
right?
that's I mean, Matt and Maddie Earp was a notorious hooker, so she did know how to put out. That was how she paid her rent for a while.
And
And then
apparently, Wyatt Earp must have been a good catch because she stayed with him. See,
yeah,
he
he
was giving her the money she needed. He was giving her the sex that she needed, and the lifestyle that she wanted, or she wouldn't have been with him. So when she did leave, after she started seeing that there was something that brewing between him and Josephine, she supposedly ran off with some other gambler and went off to Arizona, and that's where she died from a
yeah
drug overdose.
she didn't really last long after she left.
No,
She was already an addict,
yeah,
and she she was in her wasn't she in her 30s
yeah,
when
she
that
wasn't
happened to
very
her?
old.
She wasn't old, but for somebody that's like a hooker or like a shift manager at Hooters, age is not your friend.
No, not back then, because most of these women were already starting out when they were like 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
If even that, maybe 14, because
Well,
their lifespan was very short. I mean, old age was like 50.
yeah.
So a lot of people didn't even make it to 50. And if they were involved in the criminal aspect of it, like the cowboys and things like that, you were like Billy the Kid and stuff. They were famous and they were in their teens. Okay. And they were already famous gunslingers by the time they were 21. So I think most of these people, before they were older, they were already famous. If they killed the right person or they won in a gun battle, even if the other person didn't die, they just wounded the other person with luck or whatever. Uh, that's how they would get get a name for themselves. So it was the real Wild West. I mean, it was a hard road to hoe, I think, for a lot of these people in the real aspect of it. And that's why I think so many people really loved this movie and got into the characters, because just seeing these people and how they survived on a daily basis uh, in that environment, I think was exciting in itself. I mean, like the scene where Ringo's drunk and he's mad because of what happened at OK Corral, and he's mad at the Earps, and he's telling them that he wants Wyatt, he's going to take him out or whatever, and then he comes out and he's drunk, and they walk by and they tell him to move on, you're drunk, go sleep it
Go
off or
home
whatever.
and sober up.
And he turns around and he says, "Don't any of you have the guts to fight for blood?" In that one scene, and Doc
Yeah.
Holliday's getting a shave in at the outside the barber's, and he stands up and he says, "I'm your hucklebearer."
And that's the night. That's everybody says I'm your huckleberry. No, it's hucklebearer.
Yeah,
It
you
means
know what a
your,
hucklebearer is?
I'm carrying you to your gravesite, motherfucker.
Yeah,
That's what he said.
yeah, that's basically what he said, because a huckle is the handle on the side of a casket.
Yep.
And a lot of people will say, "No, it's not, it's huckleberry." And I'm like, "No, it isn't. I
No,
found that out."
hucklebearer.
So a lot of people, that's a good trivia question that you can ask somebody, about that line. But the other thing I thought was very intriguing was the scene where Ringo and I think Curly Bill and Ike go into the Oriental, and they're like feeling out Doc and the two Earp brothers that are there. I think it was Morgan and Wyatt are sitting down, and they're filling them out, and that's when Curly Bill wins that $500.
Yes.
Okay, but during that one scene, Ringo starts to talk in Latin to Doc, and I
Doc is
listened
a
to,
very learned man.
yeah, and they're both very, very intelligent, but that's what
In school very
made
well.
them more dangerous, I think, because they were thinking 3 steps ahead of everyone else, because they were, you could definitely tell they were chess players. in
Yes.
their thought process. And that was a very intense, awesome, such a good scene when they're speaking to each other in Latin and you don't know what the fuck they're saying. You know what I mean? But you're
Somebody who
drawn in
has
like a moth to the flame because it's so intense and it's so I don't know what word to use for that, but that scene was so
no,
good.
that scene is taut. That scene is rife with a lot of tension,
Oh yeah.
and you have two men that they're doing their best to kind of peacock around each other and see which one's got more feathers. And it seems like every time when I watch this movie, no matter what, Doc Holliday's got more feathers on his peacock.
Oh yeah. And even though he was sick, see
Yeah.
that I can't even imagine how scary and how intimidating Doc Holliday was when he wasn't sick. When he was able to just stand there and look you in the eye without one drop of sweat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't even, that would have been, if I could go back in time, that would be one thing I would like to meet. I would like to meet him before he became sick.
Well, he caught that when he was like 15 because he was exposed to his mother whenever it was in the contagious stage.
Yes.
So, I mean, you're going to have to travel back a while. And the Doc Holliday you want to meet is not going to be suffering, but he's also not going to be legal by any measure.
No, but you got to remember, it's like I said, a lot of the gunfighters back then that had a name for themselves,
21,
yeah,
18,
were
15.
young. They weren't, in their 40s, 30s, and 40s. They were in their late teens and early 20s when they were known as like Billy the Kid and stuff. They were lethal killers, just like today, just like all the young serial killers that we have. Most of them start out when they're in their teens. And they just become famous because their body counts get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Or they dress up like a clown, like John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah. But I looked up what they actually said to each other in Latin. I went and
Oh,
looked it up.
please.
Did you ever look that up yourself?
Hit me.
This is what they said. Doc said, and I can't say it in Latin for you. I'm sorry. I cannot read it.
Damn it. Unsubscribed.
It sucks. But Doc said, in wine, there is truth. And then Ringo said, do what you're doing. And then Doc said, let the Jew Appella believe it, not I. And then Ringo said, youth is the teacher of fools because he is younger than Doc. So basically, I think he was telling them, I'm teaching you because you're a fool. You're an old fool. And then Doc said, rest in peace. That was the last thing he said.
I caught that. I know that much Latin.
And so I printed out what each of those lines meant. So this is what, if you want me to tell you what it says. It says, there's truth in wine. Along with being a gambler, Doc is a heavy drinker. Just prior, he said he hated Johnny because he reminded him of himself. And later, because Johnny is an educated man, Doc acknowledges that he is speaking more frankly than he otherwise might to a member of a criminal gang. And he treated him with a little bit more respect simply because he was educated and smart, more up to his level, even though, because that just proves that Doc Holliday was a huge narcissist.
Doc Holliday, big
but he kicks ass.
At the same time, he recognized game and he's like, no, you're going to be mine. And every time freaking Johnny Ringo tries going after Wyatt Earp or Morgan or something, there's Doc Holliday coming out of the shadows. You're mine. I'm going to grab you. You're mine. And that's one of my favorite parts of this movie. Because Johnny Ringo thinks he's got a bead on Wyatt Earp. And instead, it's Doc the entire time. He's the one scoping him out, making sure he's got himself in a better position. And then he goes for his maneuvers. And that's when you see Johnny Ringo just kind of lose it. He loses it 3 times in this movie before he gets himself a ventilation in his forehead. It's great.
That's right. And but the thing is, it was the scene. I'm jumping forward again or up into the movie, but the scene where um, that one person says to Doc, I've got plenty of friends, and he says, I don't. So he knew, and he really was really good friends with Wyatt, and he really cared about him. Even though they took two different paths in life, one was a criminal and the other one was a lawman to most of his life, and did things honorably. Doc was more honorable when he was in the presence of Wyatt Earp, when his decision making, and he would always try to make the decisions to help and benefit Wyatt when he was with him. And that's, I think, why he liked him so much. And because Wyatt looked at him, at Doc Holliday, as a normal, just a regular Joe, and he treated him equal, even though Doc didn't feel he was. You see, does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. They had an admiration for each other that stretched beyond the boundaries that normally you would have morality be fencing people in. And you see this a lot when you have two people that are really good together as friends or whatever you want to call it, but you'll find them that they have a various set of differences. Maybe one is not quite an ideologue. Maybe he just wants to, police himself and the people that he loves. And others are, they want to be a politician. They want to sell themselves to the world, and they want to advertise, like, with me, you can be guaranteed that these things won't be happening. And they, no matter what, when they meet that other person, that chemically there's that good, healthy vibration between them. You have a moment in time where these two people could recognize that no matter what their differences are, they could be united in purpose. How often is that where that happens? And that doesn't happen enough. That doesn't happen enough because a lot of people nowadays, they're scared to death. Like, I don't want to hang out with these people that don't identify the way I think. I don't want to hang out with these people that want to play different games than I want to play, or different editions than I want to play. And you have that in a lot of different levels throughout the society. You
Yes.
guys both like playing card games. You could play Rummy one Saturday and play Uno the next. The two of you would get along great. Have fun. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
it wouldn't matter. But I really do. I still think that there's plenty of people, men and women, that have this type of friendships. I still think this type of friendship is very prevalent in the world. It's just that we don't get to see it on a daily basis because they're not famous. They're just regular people. But every so often, you get to hear stories about how one friend saved another one, from being hit by a train or being shot. They pushed him out of the way and took the bullet themselves. In war stories and things like that, you hear about these heroic people that are willing to step in and uh, take one for their best friend, to save their friend, to keep them out of trouble, or uh, different things like that. It's just not, we don't hear it enough, especially today, because the media doesn't want people to be heroes. Look what they're doing to
I
our
disagree.
comic book people. They're
I
turning all of
disagree.
our
The
heroes
media
into
wants the people
wimps.
they approve of to be heroes.
So this is a real life story. Yes, I know it's been embellished a huge amount to draw more people in, but damn, they did a damn good job, because I don't know anyone that saw Tombstone and didn't like it. I mean, there's something for every person that watches this movie. There's a character for them. There's something about somebody in each person that watches this movie is going to find something they love about it, because there's just so much in it. It's packed to the max. I mean, it has Charlton Heston in it, for God's sakes. I mean, it's just a massive hit. I mean, this is a Hollywood movie. This is definitely what I would say, where they pulled all the stops. They're going to do every little thing they could, but it was worth it because it made this movie a gem. I mean, it's like a diamond in the rough. I mean, you have to dig around to find good stuff like this anymore, because this is so well made in all aspects, with the acting, with the scenery, the music, the clothing. I mean, I just can't see. I mean, honestly, I just don't see that much about this movie that was bad. I mean, there's very few little things here and there, but it was just overall, it was just phenomenal. I mean, every aspect of it. But let me get back to this part where they were the parts about the Latin, about the conversation,
Go ahead.
because to me it just gives insight to the actual conversation between these two iconic gunslingers, and how they interacted with each other for this scene. I know this probably didn't happen in real life, and nothing near to this amount of detail, but I just think this is very intriguing. The person who thought about uh, having this conversation between these two characters, and then after they're finished, when Doc does this whole thing with his two drinking cups, so to even belittle Ringo even more, in front of everyone, and he was pissed because you could tell the look on his face. He wanted to kick his ass or blow his brains out, but Curly Bill kept him, calm. And then he threw his money in the air and said, "Drinks are on me," or whatever. So he changed the scene after this because it was so intense and you could cut it with a knife, basically. But the second line, when Ringo said, "Do what you're doing," okay, members of the Jesuit order used the Latin phrase to those undergoing Jesuit formation that should focus immensely on their work. Like in English, we might say, "Concentrate on the task at hand." And in the film, the task at hand was Doc's drunkenness, hardly worthy of a high-minded, you know, person of admiration or whatever for people to look up to, right?
Correct.
So then Doc says, "Let the Jew Apello believe it, not I." So that means this is a quotation of satires by the ancient poet Horace. In Book 1, Satire 5, people were trying to convince travelers that miracles were taking place at their shrines. Rather than a simple, "I don't believe you," this phrase is utterly dismissive. In English, we might say it as, "Go tell someone who will believe it." Doc is likewise brushing off Johnny. So he's basically saying, "Go tell it to someone else because I know you're full of shit," basically, is what he's telling him. And then you have Ringo say, "Youth is a teacher of fools." So he's saying Johnny's the younger of the two. But with this line, and by tapping his pistols, he's implying that Doc is an inexperienced one, unaware of the danger he's flirting with. Johnny could have conveyed similar meaning with, "Don't bite off more than you can chew, boy." And then the last line was Doc said, "Rest in peace," but he said it in Latin, which I can't speak in Latin, sorry. He said, "This phrase is a common fixture of grave markers with which Doc warns that Johnny should beware the danger at hand, and foreshadows the showdown between Doc and Johnny later in the film." So I just thought that was really, really good when I found that information about the conversation between the two pistoleros, the two deadliest men, that were in this whole movie, were these two gunfighters. So, and they both, one, which was Ringo, had it out for Wyatt Earp because he just didn't like him, and he knew in his heart and in his soul that he could beat Wyatt Earp in a gunfight. So that's why he wanted him, because he wanted to add him to another notch to his pistol. But Doc wanted Ringo for himself because he wanted to take him out because he knew he could. That's the two differences that I saw when I watched this movie between those two pistoleros. That was intense to me. That scene was so good. And when he started flipping his cups, okay, and you could see the anger on Ringo's face of humiliation, that he knew this guy was humiliating him in front of all these people. But what was he going to do about it? He could have pulled his pistols, but where would they have gotten him? It wouldn't have got him Wyatt Earp. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So to me, I just love that humiliating scene because Doc definitely humiliated Ringo in that scene. I thought it was really, really, really good. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to find the rest of these notes on here. Let's see. Oh, and then the scene where before Morgan gets shot and
Yes.
in the back while he's, after the whole thing happened.
Fucking pussy move, by the way.
Do what?
The guy's shooting stick at a bar, and you're outside with this little rifle, and you take him out that way. Pussy move.
Yeah, that was
I mean, you
definitely.
did get rid of him, but fuck you.
And it was probably the whole thing during the movie. I'm thinking it's Ike because that's the kind of person Ike was. Ike was just a loser, chicken shit, that he wasn't willing to do anything for himself but talk big. But every single time the shit hit the fan, he was on his knees begging, "Don't kill me, don't
Yes.
kill me." So he was a big pussy. He did great though. The actor did a phenomenal job portraying that character because he was the one character in this movie that I absolutely wanted to die, but he never did. Even at the very end, when he's being chased down by the United States Marshals, and his what was the name? What did he call their group? The Immortals. Yeah, Wyatt
Yes.
Earp and his Immortals. That's what it was. When they're chasing him down towards the very end, and he takes his sash off and throws it. So basically, he didn't even get shot when they went on their rampage to take out the cowboys. But they did get all the sashes off everybody, so that was worth it. But he was just Ike Clanton or something like that is I think his name. He was just a useless piece of poop on the bottom of my shoe. Because that one line when they at the train station when he took the women and his brother Virgil to the train station after he'd been shot in the middle of the
Yeah.
night, when he took them to the train station and dropped them off, and what was it, Ike was there, and I'm trying to remember the other guy's name that was there to shoot them. They were gonna shoot, get rid of him, and one of them got shot and he died. And in that one scene, and that's when he had Ike down on the ground, and he said, "Tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming."
Was coming with me.
So that was a really good scene. So that was another iconic line from the movie. I mean, I can't even. There were so many of them. It was just so hard for me to keep up. From all the different lines that people said in the scene where the one scene in the theater, the Birdcage Theater. I'm going back to the beginning, towards the beginning again, when they're watching when the actress first appears as the devil with Faust. That scene, and that's when that young actor. It was on a TV show that was real popular back then. He played the real wussy guy that everybody made fun of, and he's sitting by Curly Bill, and he said, "What would you do if you made a deal with the devil?" And then Curly Bill said, "Well, I'd take the money, and then I'd turn around and drill the devil in the ass," or whatever. That was a really funny part in the movie that I couldn't help but laugh. I thought it was really funny. So I just thought that was really good. That one scene, because it made me laugh. There was a lot of scenes that made me laugh, but then another scene where I did cry was the scene where uh, Josephine pulls up in her stagecoach, and her acting friend, which was, what was his name? He was in a movie and he played Adam Ant or something. I can't remember his name.
Oh.
That actor, because I didn't print out the acting thing. Let me get that up on my IMDb and look it up, because I'm having a hard time remembering all these people's names, because there was a buttload of actors in this movie. Tons of He played Adam Ant. I remember that in I don't know if it was a made for TV movie or something like that, but he was in another show, and he wore a purple costume. It was a comic book character, and he did pretty good, I thought, in the movie, but I can't remember what this actor's name is. Let's see, because I'm trying to find his name. Oh, Bill Paxton was really good too. Powers Booth, he's the one that played Curly Bill. He did a really good job. Billy Breckenridge was Jason Priestley.
Yes.
That actor, that's the one. And then you had, I was trying to remember the other guy's name.
To my friends on the other networks here, we will be talking about Olivia Newton-John at the end of today's stream.
Oh, that's right.
Give us
Remember
time.
that. Yeah, I wonder what she passed away from.
Breast cancer.
Breast cancer, that's right. Oh, Billy Zane. The actor Billy Zane. He was the one that played the young actor that gets shot. And he was a nice looking guy too. Yeah, The Phantom. Remember, he was in a movie called The Phantom, and I thought he did a very good job. I liked that movie, but he was good looking, so I probably would have liked anything he was in. I mean, he was an okay actor. He wasn't the very best actor in the world or anything, but a couple of the movies that he was in, I thought he did a pretty good job because he was attractive. So he got away with a lot. Sorry, my nose is running.
It's okay.
But yeah, overall this movie was just packed with action. The scene where this young gunslinger, one of the cowboys, was going in to get, I think it was to get, I guess Curly Bill, to get Curly Bill out of jail.
Yes.
And that's when Wyatt Earp like hits him with the butt of his own gun in his face, right in the front there. I'm trying to remember. Darn it. That one scene. I can't remember that young actor's name. But that scene was pretty intense, how he takes that guy out really quickly. But he deserved it because he was being a little smart ass. But yeah, this movie was loaded with big actors. So when the one part where if I had to be critiquing this movie that I had a hard time with was trying to figure it out was when they were on the property of the rancher.
Yes.
You know, when they went there,
Charlton Heston.
Yeah, Charlton Heston's ranch, at Henry Hooker or something like that. And they're there, and you got Doc Holliday back there in the bed. He's sweating, and he just looks really bad. He just looks like he's on death's door, is what how he looked. And they're resting for the night, and that's when they bring McMaster's back on the being dragged behind the horse because they killed him, and they dropped him off, and that's when they tell him that Ringo's waiting for you over by some tree, the old oak or something, and some
precise instructions.
Yeah. So and that's when he talked to Doc, and Doc told him, that whole thing about that he wants vengeance, and he goes, for what? And he said, for being born, basically. Mm-hmm. And that no amount of killing or dismay or anything could ever fill the hole that he's got. That it would be never fill it. It could never be fulfilled. So, and he says, I can't take him, can I? And he said, no. So at that moment, he knew if he went, he was going to die. So, so then you have Doc sneak out, basically, and ride there once they find out where he's supposed to be to meet up with Ringo. And that's why that's the one scene where I have a little bit of trouble giving it, the perfect score, because how did that happen? They get on their horses and they leave within minutes, and he's already dressed and up and on the road. I don't know. It just, to me, I don't know. They should have put something in between there to give it a little more time where it'd be more plausible. But I mean, I remember how excited I was when I saw him walk out with smoking a cigarette, because when Ringo says, "Well, you actually showed," because he didn't think he was going to show up, and it wasn't him. When he saw that it was Doc Holliday, you could tell he wasn't he wasn't too thrilled. But then they start doing the walk around, looking at each other, and he says, "Say when." I just love him. I swear to God. Val Kilmer is just phenomenal. I mean, this is the best portrayal of any part I've seen Val Kilmer do, and he just does this to the T. I mean, there's nothing.
Boy.
I thought,
There's another Val Kilmer performance in another movie that we've already talked about that happened the year before, where Val Kilmer plays Elvis, or the spirit of Elvis, in True Romance.
mm-hmm.
And that's
I haven't seen that yet, so I can't really comment on it.
I'll just send you the link, and I'll just let time officiate. And whenever you can finish that movie from start to finish, we'll talk about it, because that's like one of my favorite. That out of all 92, that's the movie for me, not Reservoir Dogs. I'll just say that.
Well, I love Val Kilmer's movies. I mean, I've seen a few of them, but I loved him as Batman too. I thought he did a pretty good job. I mean, he wasn't the best Batman, I mean, in my book for Batman, but I thought he did a good job. I wasn't
good Michael Keaton.
Yeah, Mike Keaton.
He did a good Bruce Wayne. Excuse me. Yeah. I didn't like his Batman. His Bruce Wayne was good.
Yeah. But I just think he's a good actor, overall, in all the parts that he's been in. But I just think that this part in Tombstone, to me, from the movies that I've seen him in, that he was the best. And then when I saw the Wyatt Earp movie with what's his name, the guy from Waterworld, can't even remember his name. I just thought, Kevin Costner. I just didn't think, that movie was nothing compared to this one. This movie rolled over that movie like a steamroller. I think it just tore that movie to shreds. This movie was 10 times better. It was more entertaining. It had, even the shootout at the river with McMasters and what was a couple of the other guys' names that had left the Cowboys? Oh, Creek Johnson.
Yes.
And Texas Jack. Okay. When they left and went with Wyatt Earp. Now, in the actual real ride that Wyatt Earp did, he had two of his other brothers rode with him. In that, and I can't remember. I'll have to look and see what their names were. The two brothers that went with him, because I printed it out. I thought I printed it out. Because he had. I said, let's see. I'm trying to find them. Oh, poop. Because there was Newton, Jasper Earp, and then there was Mariah, and then you had James, Virgil, Morgan, Warren. I think Warren and was one of them, and I think it was James. I'm not 100%, but I think those are the two brothers that really rode with him when they were made Texas Rangers. To be able to go and take out the cowboy gang. And there were some other ones, because I think Texas Jack and Creek Johnson were two of them that were actually involved. But there was a few, and it took a long time. It wasn't in the movie. They made it look like it was, within weeks or whatever. They took out all these people, but it took a long time because it's a big territory they had to cover. And they had the horses. They had to swap horses and different things like that, because they'd die. I mean, if you rode a horse like that from one place to another, they're not going to live. I mean, you're going to wear them out and they're going to end up killing over. So you'd have to change horses and everybody would have to rest and stuff like that. So, and then you have to find out where they went because we didn't have tracking devices and stuff back then. You just had to go by what people saw and where they might have hung out before or things like that. So, but that's why a lot of these lawmen were really good at what they did because they did um, know people and were able to get other people to give them information that they needed to be able to find some of these people. So all that was just really really good. But the whole thing when Morgan died and all this stuff culminated into the movie, I just thought all of it was just so good. I mean, the way that they brought everything together to bring justice back to them, and then you had Behan, the total wimped out guy that's deputizing all these cowboys and shit. Uh, I tried to find some information about that when I looked it up, and I really couldn't find any real substance to where they got that from to put that into this movie because I know it's just a movie, but they did use certain things as a reality markers. Like Maddie dying and things like that. At the end when they were talking about it, but they were like together like for 40 something years. Him and Josephine at the end when you see him dancing in the snow and snowing outside at the very end, as going to spend the rest of their lives together having room service or whatever, which was very romantic and I just loved it. But I looked up things and there was some really bad stuff. A lot of people that were friends with Wyatt Earp did not like Josephine. They said she was bossy and controlling and really bad. She had a really bad gambling habit supposedly. And so basically, towards the end of his life, poor Wyatt Earp was henpecked, I think. So that's sad to say. But overall, I think that, him and Josephine got what they wanted in their lives. They found someone that loved them for who they were, and they were able to live the life they wanted up until he died and they were no longer together. Even though it seemed like a lot of people didn't like her. And I don't know if it was because they were jealous of the time that she took away from them being able to be with Wyatt. But I think that if you just look at history and read about Wyatt Earp and Josephine, that they really did have a real romance, a real true love romance, because everyone fights, everyone has problems, but to stay together over 40 something years, that's got to mean something, especially nowadays. I mean, that's rare. You just don't see any couples being able to last that long, let alone being shot out every couple weeks, depending on where you're going, and fist fights and this all the stuff that they had to been going through in their real lives because of the type of places that they went to, and to earn their fortune, with gold. And he did a lot of things with betting with race horses and stuff like that, because he even bring that up in the movie when he's talking about building up Tombstone and maybe putting in a racetrack, something like that. So they did add a lot of aspects from his real life and to embellish his character. And anyone that was a little bit of a history buff that might be able to look it up and say, yeah, he was into race horses and he was into boxing and things like that. And that Josephine was really rich. She came from a rich family and she liked living high on the hog, which she did. And she did it her whole life. And she took Wyatt Earp along with her. So he used her, but she used him. So you have that, but they really loved each other or they wouldn't have been able to stay together for that long. Just like I said, when he was with Maddie, for her being a prostitute and a drug addict, and for them to stay together for, 3 years. That's a long time for that type of a relationship to last. Same thing with Doc Holliday and Kate. I mean, um, the whole little scene where he's talking about her not wearing a bustle, I just thought that was cute and adorable. And it just made me think he was even more of a sex symbol than maybe he was. I mean, somebody said something earlier in the chat about never go back in time to meet someone that you think is one thing, because he's not gonna be what you think he is, or she. They're not going to be who you think they are, which is probably true, because I don't think anybody is. I mean, everyone meets someone or reads about someone or something, and they find out certain things about them, and then they daydream about them, or they go down the rabbit hole, or whatever you want to call it, and research someone to try to find out as much as they can. And then they have this picture in their mind of who they think that this person is. Just like any story, any book that you have, your perception is way different than reality, because your mind fills in the gaps, and sometimes it glorifies it even more. So you might think you see this woman from her shoulders up, and you see her face, and she's talking to you all the time, and you get to talk to her, once a week or whatever, and over time you start thinking, she's beautiful and she's this and that and whatever. And then you get to meet her in person one day, and she walks up and she weighs 400 pounds. And you're like, what the, because you never, for some reason, never got to see every inch of her before you actually got to meet her. But it's the same on both sides. She might be looking at you, and all she sees is your head or whatever, and your shoulders, and you talk and you sound very romantic or whatever. And then she meets you and she's 2 feet taller than you are. So what I'm saying is that no one's perfect. And if people could just get past the physical appearance, just like what was it you that just showed a picture earlier of what Kate really looked like? And she wasn't very attractive in real
Yeah.
life from the pictures that we saw, but other aspects of her might have been so strong that you look past that. You could look past that her nose was big, or she had broad shoulders or something like that, because other aspects of her were beautiful in their eyes. So they saw something in her that other people might not have seen, just like what Wyatt Earp might have seen in Maddie. He might have met her when he was having a really bad day, and she was the one person that was able to bring him back out, bring him back up. And when he looked at her, he saw something other people didn't see. And over time, the more she did the opium and things, it slowly took her away. It took that Maddie out of the picture, and he couldn't see her anymore. So that's what's so hard on a lot of relationships today, is that you have something, you meet each other, you fall in love, and you spend each day after that trying to change each other. Like, I think I've talked about this before, but like, you like to paint these little figures and stuff for your games, and you get enjoyment out of it. Well, um, you might meet someone. I know you're married and everything, but I'm just going to use you as an example. You meet someone, and then they see that what you like to do, and they think, oh, what? I'm not going to spend the rest of my life with a person that does that for fun. So you scare them off. But the thing is that if people would spend a little more time getting to know each other, meet each other in person, spend time together, and become friends, you know, find out if you like the same movies, or if you like the same books, what your favorite foods are, what's your favorite flower, uh, meet your family and meet your friends. And if you like
Yes.
golf and they don't like golf, but they want to drive the golf cart while you play golf, you know, there's no telling what you could have in your relationship when you do have it, because you step past friendship into love. You might actually have a relationship that can last a lifetime. But people are so willing to just look at somebody's cleavage or their tight butt or whatever, and then they go out and they think they're in love, but that's not love, that's lust. There's a huge difference. And then you realize you spend time together and you talk and you realize we have nothing in common. We don't like the same movies. We don't like the same food. We don't like anything. So why are we together? And it's sad because that's basically what, you get when you hook up on Tinder or some of these other apps. You're getting what you're paying for, which is nothing.
Yep, you don't get squat.
Yeah, you're not with a real person. You're with a picture or something, an avatar or whatever it is. You're not getting to know the person behind the picture. And if more people would take the time out to find out who the other person really is, and that takes time. See, people don't want to take time. That's why you can just drive through the drive-through and you got a burger, or you got a shake, or you got this, or you got that. Instantaneous glorification. So nobody has to take any time to have anything. Everything is just handed to them on a silver platter, and it's too much work. That's why you have people that have been married, divorced 5 times, because they don't know what real love is. And when a person does find real love, or they think it's real love, it's obsession because the other person doesn't feel the same way. Well, then you got a stalker, you have other problems that come in. But I just wish more people could step back, look at themselves and say, okay, I have this, that, and the other wrong with me. I'm not perfect, but I love who I am, and be happy with themselves. Then you go out once you're happy with yourself and you find someone else that's happy with who they are, become friends, and the next thing you know, you're in love. It doesn't matter if you have lots of money, or you have already have kids from your past relationship. It will work out if you just accept each other for what you are and what they are, and not judge each other. Join the relationship, have a friendship, and enjoy your life every day. Look at each other and say, I love you, or I love our time together. Things like that. Compliment
Do
each other.
stupid man tricks.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, make each other laugh. Be there for each other, but don't just um, pretend that you're happy, because that's a day. Each day that goes by when you're pretending um, is wasted. You can't get it back. So why waste it? And why put everything on hold when you can actually be out there looking for the real person you have in your life? That's what I tell people. But that's what I saw when I saw Josephine and Wyatt Earp and their relationship in this movie. It was a whirlwind romance at the beginning, but it lasted 40 something years in reality. So that,
They were the official couple that went out on an airstream during their retirement binge, and that was what they did.
hmm yep, that's exactly what they did. And they had a wonderful life. And I couldn't find anything that said they had any children, so I don't know if they had kids or not.
I think she was past that point. She might not have been,
I don't
but
know. I mean, I just didn't. I couldn't find anything. I never. I looked in 4 or 5 different websites that looked reputable, and I couldn't find anything about
let me see if I can find something.
having
Hold on.
children.
Go ahead.
Because
Keep
40
going.
something years together and not having a child is like maybe. I mean, this may sound gross, but people that I've talked to that have had fertility problems, their doctors would tell them not to have sex every day, because if you have sex every day, that weakens the sperm or whatever else. So they would have to wait like 2 weeks. And then when it was her temperature was right or whatever, I don't know what any of that means, but when the time was right, then they would go gangbusters and, have a
I'm
48-hour rendezvous or whatever. And then they would end up getting pregnant. And it was all because they had to have abstain to keep them from being weak. So maybe that's why some of these people didn't have kids, because they were so busy going to town. They were wasting all their swimmers. So they weren't putting out strong enough swimmers, and that's why they just didn't procreate and have, carry on their seed or whatever, because they were too busy um, going to town. I don't know if that's reality, but it makes sense to me. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look it up and see if I can find anything about it. But,
Well,
because back then people had lots of kids. That was basically all the entertainment you had. There wasn't movie theaters. And if you lived out on a ranch, there wasn't, places to go hang out and go dancing and all that stuff. Unless maybe once a year or whatever, they'd have a big hoedown or something, and people would come together and bring in food and drinks and stuff, and people would meet somebody or whatever. But normally on a daily basis, there just wasn't anything to do besides, you know, have sex and eat. I mean, and cook and stuff for
I
enjoyment.
feel personally attacked here
Why?
because I want to have sex and eat, not in that order.
Well, I'm not saying you didn't, but I'm just saying back then in
Uh,
the 1800s, there really wasn't much to do if you think about it, unless you lived in a big city that was cosmopolitan and you had money. You had to have money because 2 cents was a lot of money back then, believe it.
yes.
So, but that's my overall point of view on this movie. Was it was a if it was 4 stars, I would definitely give it a 4 stars. I think this was one of the best movies I've ever seen for overall everything. Even though just like I said, the part where he's laying in bed and all of a sudden he shows up, an hour away, on that you have to ride horseback. It's the only way to get there, and he takes that guy out with one shot. So, you know, that was a little far fetched, even though I know it wasn't reality, but it was based on real people. But I really love this movie. I definitely would give it 4 stars out of 4 stars.
See, I call this an 8 out of 10.
Oh, 8 out of 10. You're gonna give
Yeah,
it
8 out of 10 because it does a lot really well, but it doesn't really give you the personalities of the Wyatt Earp family at all.
So what do you mean?
You have to read about Wyatt and Morgan, and you have to read a lot about this in order to get it down as to who Wyatt Earp really is. That's what I mean. It
Well,
just
you
took
got to
me a
remember
lot.
though, for just like anyone else that goes to see a movie about Superman or Batman or the Joker or any of these characters, when you go see the movie, you watch it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you already know who the character is. You might be somebody who's never seen a comic book or read a comic book, and they go watch it, and they're going to go simply on what they're seeing on the screen and making a decision from it. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have the whole background or history or every detail about the character's background. They just go from what they've actually got to watch on the screen. And that's how I tried to look at it. I tried to look at it as an entertainment purposes just from this movie, of the characters that from history, just their name. I just know who Wyatt Earp is simply because people have talked about him being a famous lawman in the Wild West. That's it. You basically go on that. And then the same thing, it's Virgil and Morgan are his brothers because they say so at the beginning of the movie, and they have their women and they're there to make their money. So basically, that's all you have to go on. But you don't really need more than that because you know who they are and they're going to stand up for their brother. They're going to be there for each other, all three of them, which they did. So, to me, I didn't need to know any more about it for this movie to be enjoyable to me. Let's go ahead. I'm done talking. You can finish what you were saying.
You're good. You powered through an hour and 30 minutes damn near by yourself. And this is a movie that Janet loves, by the way.
I think they could tell by the way I talked about it. But it is a well-made movie. I mean, it has everything in it. I mean, what is it lacking? Besides what you said, they didn't go into enough detail about the other two brothers. But to me, they didn't really have to. You knew who they were, you knew what they were there for, and that they'd brought their women, which means that they wanted to start a new life. You don't bring your woman to a city or a town that you don't plan on staying there for a while.
That's so
Because
true.
back then they would leave the wife, at their ranch, or take the wife to their mother's or another place like that, because that's just what they did, when especially when they felt like it would be too risky or dangerous. But you got to also remember that, how did somebody get from New York all the way to California? The only way to go was either riding the rails, and that was later. Before that, they had to ride stagecoach or in their own wagon, which was not like flying in first class on an airplane today. It was a very harrowing journey. And then you also had renegades and Indians and other people that you might have as a threat to your livelihood, on your way. And not just that, you also had your horse might break its leg, or your wagon might lose a wheel. I mean, all different things that could have happened to you. And then you end up dying because you couldn't get water, and you couldn't find anything to eat, because if you didn't have enough food on your actual wagon with you, or water, you could end up dying. So I'm sure that they found plenty of wagons, abandoned wagons, where the wagon broke down or whatever else. And they ended up trying to put as much as they could on horseback and or sleds or whatever, and try to get somewhere else. And especially if it was a heat wave like we've had just this summer. It's been really hot. Just think about that, wearing all those clothes and riding in a wagon, and having to go across country trying to get to where you're going to get your own mine or whatever it is, or your farmland, and start a new life in America. What it must have been like. So I don't know. I all I can think of is it was pretty scary for anyone, let alone a man with his wife and his kids. If you think about it, because I don't think even most men I know today would even want to do something like that, especially in that aspect, the way that they had to travel back then. Because as you saw with Josephine Marcus, when she showed up in town, she had one or two bags, which had basically a couple of her dresses in there. And because, it was the clothing, the type of clothing that you saw her wearing in the movie was a lot of fabric for the skirts and the bustle and everything underneath. So that's heavy. So one trunk might be able to hold 5 or 6 outfits and shoes, if you had different shoes. But most women and men back then had 1 or 2 pairs of shoes if you were rich, because you had black boots or black heels or whatever, black heel boots or whatever, and that's what everybody wore, or cowboy boots, depending on stuff. But it was pretty harrowing, I think, for anyone back then, especially in that town. If you saw the different views of it, it was you know it did. I don't even remember if I didn't even remember seeing very few trees. I mean, the few trees that you did see were very small and skimpy. They didn't really have a lot of shrubbery or anything. And just like someone said, it was in Arizona, so it was desert like. So it was very dry, and that in itself made it a very hard place to survive and to live in. So everyone would want to take from someone else that was already thriving. So I can see why the criminal aspect would be able to take hold in any town back then. Even the town that they supposedly were in when they took over that wedding and killed the groom, and then took the bride and into the church and did whatever they did to her. I mean, I don't know where that was, but it was probably near the border or whatever else. But it was bad. I mean, I can't even. I'm glad I didn't live back then. I mean, it would be pretty to go to somewhere to visit or whatever, like in the movie Westworld or whatever, for a short amount of time. But I can tell you right now, I definitely know I'm glad I wasn't alive back in those days. So it would have been a very, I guess I wouldn't know any different because, that's what you know. Where you grow up is what you know, what you learn. But I'm thankful with what I have right now in front of me. I'm thankful that this is what I have compared to what those people had in real life, which wasn't good. But if I'm going to give it 4 stars, I still give it 4 stars because overall, just for the aspect of it being a movie and what the movie was about and the story that it was telling, I thought they were phenomenal. I thought all the actors did a phenomenal job at being believable for their characters. I thought that the scenery, the music, the script, the stories with each of the characters that they did have, I thought was excellent. I just thought overall, I thought it was an excellent movie. I loved it. And I recommend everyone try to watch it. If you haven't seen Tombstone, you should watch it. That's my point of view.
Okay.
And I'm sticking to it. But I loved this movie. I thought it was excellent. And it's nice to actually have a good movie to watch. That because the last couple movies that I watched, I'm not talking about The Crow, but the ones that I chose, I was let down a little bit once I watched it again years later. It's been like I'd say 6 to 8 years since I saw Tombstone again. And it really did. It was really nice to get to watch it. I stopped it and rewound it and watched a couple scenes over and over again because I couldn't believe how good it was. I don't know. I mean, it may sound kind of corny, but the scene where Ringo's saying, does anybody want to fight for blood? That scene I thought was really, really good with Doc Holliday when he said, "I'll be your hucklebearer." I thought that was really good because a lot of people don't understand that scene. They think it says Huckleberry, and
Not Huckleberry. It's Hucklebear.
Hucklebearer, yeah. So I thought it was good. I loved it. But I feel like I've covered everything about the movie that I thought was really good. Why someone should watch it.
It's only an hour and 40 minutes in the stream. I'm just going to announce real quick the movie I'm picking for next week.
Oh, let me get a pencil so I can write it down.
You probably already have this movie.
I might. What is it?
The Luc Besson 1994 classic with Danny Aiello, Jean Reno, and Natalie Portman.
Mm-hmm.
Leon the Professional, or The Professional for American audiences.
It sounds familiar. I think I might have seen it.
You've never seen? Okay.
I think I have seen it, but I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up and see.
Well, this movie that we watched tonight, Tombstone, it's a guilty pleasure film, or it should be a guilty pleasure film, but it has a lot of negative demerits from the media at the time when it was released. It didn't really rate too high. It did, however, become a cult fan fiction favorite. And
See, I didn't look at any of that.
What?
I didn't look up anything like that. I didn't look it up on Rotten Tomatoes or any of that stuff because honestly, I didn't give a crap what any of them thought. I was strictly going this week strictly on what I thought when I watched the movie, how it made me feel, and what I got out of the characters. The only things I looked up was historical stuff that popped in my head, like the Maddie, the whole situation with her, whether she was a real person or not, or if they just put her in there to make the movie more exciting. That type of stuff, and where Josephine came from, how long they were married, that kind of thing. That's the kind of stuff I looked at. And then the whole thing about the Latin conversation between Ringo and
Ringo.
Yeah. So, and Doc, I thought that was real intriguing. So I looked up certain things like that. I didn't look up anything for anybody others than my point of view of what they thought about it, because I didn't want anything negative or anything positive, basically taking over what I felt for this. And I just wrote down a bunch of stuff. And the only thing I normally do is I would have printed out the actors and who they played and all that stuff. I don't know why I didn't. I just, for some dumb reason, I thought I did, but I didn't, because I like to know the names of the actors, like while I was struggling with a couple of people like that, Jason Priestley, his name, and Billy Zane, I couldn't remember their names. But
Billy Zane hasn't aged at all since his movie.
yeah, he doesn't look. Some people just age really well, apparently. Yeah, I thought he was very attractive. Now, I still don't think he's as good an actor as like Val Kilmer or Kurt Russell or what's his name? Powers Booth.
Powers Booth.
Yeah, he's really good too. He's a very good actor. So this movie was cram packed to me with good actors. Had a phenomenal cast. There was so many people in it. The guy from I'm trying to remember his name, that played the Sandman in one of the Spider-Man movies, was the young guy at the OK Corral that Doc winks at. It gets the whole thing fired up. So there's lots of each time I watched it, I was reminded of the different careers from each of the actors and actresses and where they went after that, because they each excelled in different areas. But they moved on, they moved on to different people. So I didn't look at them as typecast, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So none of them were typecast as far as I could tell. But boy, there were some really good lines that if you said that line to someone, that they would know, that it came from this movie. Just like in Jaws, when he says, "You're going to need a bigger boat." Everybody knows that line. So I don't know if this movie made a bunch of money or not, but I can tell you, honestly, this movie was way better than Wyatt Earp. I don't know if you saw that movie or not.
I haven't seen Wyatt Earp yet.
Did you like it?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, well, you need to watch it and see if you think it's anything. Now, if you want more of the historical stuff, I think a lot of it was supposed to be historical about the buffalo hunting and all that kind of stuff. But I just thought it was boring as hell. I just did not like it. I didn't think it was very good at all compared to this one. This one was action packed. It actually kept me entertained through the whole movie. So can't say that about Wyatt Earp. But that's how I feel about it. I think this movie is really good. And I'm glad I watched it again.
Thomas Church was in this movie. Thomas Hayden Church. He played Lurch in 1997, 2002 Wings, I believe.
What character was he?
Lurch. He was the handyman.
Trying to remember. I have to look at on this IMDb.
Spider-Man's nemesis, Sandman, in Part 3 of the Tobey Maguire series.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because I saw all those movies. I thought they were really good. Wow, there's a couple movies of actors in here that I didn't realize that's who they were in the Cowboy Gang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the guy that played the mayor. I thought Jerry O'Quinn, when I saw him, I was like, oh, I didn't realize. I forgot he was in this movie. So there was quite a few of actors in there. Frank Stallone was in this movie. Did you know that?
That was what killed me. Frank Stallone was in this movie. Frank Stallone.
Yeah. He played Ed Bailey. So, it was a very small part, but he was still in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was I just couldn't believe how many actors were in it. So I don't know if they put them all in this movie just to get people to go see it. But whoever put this together was able to get a lot of big stars, to actually be in this movie because apparently they liked the script enough to want to be a part of it. And then even getting Robert Mitchum to do the voiceover at the beginning, and at the end for the opening and closing of the movie.
I agree.
I thought that was really good. So I don't know. I just don't know how anyone, like what you were saying earlier about the ratings or whatever, that didn't, a lot of people didn't like it. And I'm like, why? What was it about they didn't like?
I'm not certain.
Yeah, me either, because I just don't see what, I mean, there's always going to be some little this and that and the other, but overall, I just thought it was a very well made movie. The directing um, was good. The screenplay was great. I mean, I just thought it was just a very good overall entertainment purpose. Movie. It was very good with characters that you rooted for. It had heroes in it. It had really really good villains. I mean, it just had everything. Had romance, had sex. I mean, it had uh, I mean, you didn't have a lot of TNA in it. For that's one thing. Maybe someone thinks that you have to have more bare tits and butt to make it more of a 10 movie or something. I don't know, but to me, the scene where um, Wyatt, not Wyatt, but Doc Holliday's in bed and his woman Kate is in there and she's rubbing down his leg, or his chest down to his crotch. And he calls her, well, maybe you might be the Antichrist or whatever that scene, because she knew he was supposed to not, he was supposed to rest and um, take it easy. And she's getting them all riled up right after the doctor left. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe she did have a death wish for him. I don't know. But I think when I saw that, to me, it was her way of showing him that he's got to live life to the fullest until the end. And, and it worked for a long time in their relationship, because that's what she needed from him. And he definitely provided it until he got to the point where he decided, well, I can either stay with her and party until I die, or I can go on this trip with Wyatt Earp, my best friend in the world, and help him. So, and he chose his best friend over his woman. So, you know,
Yes, grumpy old ninja. The Sandman from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies is in this movie.
yeah, he was the isn't he the guy that Doc winks at the OK
Yes.
Corral? Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw his face. It was, wow, he was young when he made this movie. But yeah, I thought the movie was really really good. I really liked it. So now you want to talk about what happened to Olivia Newton-John?
Yeah. Um, occasionally you'll have a situation where a person will step into infamy because of a movie role. And
I'm gonna look her up real quick.
that's what I'm doing right now.
Oh, okay.
And this movie came out in 1978. And there's so many iconic pieces of it. And then she was in part 2 of it, a bunch of other movies. But Olivia Newton-John is kind of like America's sweetheart. She was. Somebody gets in their 70s, that probably has ended.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of guys that will admit to saying, I liked the girl that was on the Musketeers, that we watched her go through puberty. No, I
Yeah.
don't want to watch that. One, she's older than me. Two, she has MS, and three, I'll if you want to go for like an older woman, okay, fine. I'll take Anne Margaret. There we go, or Sophia Loren.
Yeah.
I'm a pig.
Well, she
Olivia
was.
Newton-John came out in '78, and she had that literal all American look to her. Can you guys see my screen?
Um.
Nope, you can't. Here we go.
No. There we go. Oh, Sandy.
Yeah,
Yep.
and this is something that I hate this movie. To the core of my being, I won't watch it again.
I
But
love this movie. I thought it
this
was so good.
it's a great movie, but I've been around it a little too much. I'm good, and I don't want to watch it ever again. And worse yet, Olivia Newton-John, like she's in this film and she steals it. She really does.
Mm-hmm.
As much as you want to say that chin steals it, no, it's her.
Yeah, it's sad. She passed
And
away.
you know, we occasionally deal with death and loss because it happens to everybody. You're not special. You're not gonna evade it. It will happen to you too. But I'm telling you that you try not to acknowledge it so hard. Celebrities that are part of our American spirit are part of our American culture, like Olivia Newton-John was. Um, this one, this hurts, because there's a lot of guys out there tonight that are my age, a little older, a little younger, and they're going to remember all the times that they felt special watching a movie about some kids in the 1950s.
Yep.
This is what a lot of us were promised. This is what we would get if we aspired to be honest and true to ourselves. As a man, you get a woman like Sandy. As a woman, you take home the chin.
I never liked his chin. I don't think his chin's very attractive.
Well, that's fine, but
I liked Kaniki more. Thought he was more attractive.
okay, that's fair. Olivia Newton-John is an American icon, and there's a lot of guys that they wanted to have this, and with her passing today, we salute you. For those of you that are drinking and in stream right now, go ahead, tip one off to her. The beast of breast cancer has claimed yet another. What a sad day.
Yeah, it's really sad. She was an icon. She had so many hit songs. I'm looking.
Oh
I'm
my
looking.
God.
Yeah, I'm looking through her stuff. It's just freaking amazing how many hit songs she had. And she was also in that movie Xanadu movie. I remember that.
Yes. Bowzette's like, musicals are terrible to me. Oh, Bowsette, you'd watch Team America World Police with me. Come on now.
Hey, I loved that movie. That was another good one. I laughed my butt off through that whole movie. My stomach hurt the next day from laughing.
Yes.
It was so funny. Yeah, Let's Get Physical. That was one. I love that song. I have that album.
Hey, Shadow, how you doing, bud? Just a sad day in America.
Yeah, it's really sad. I didn't even realize she passed away until I saw it on Twitter, I think. And I was like, I can't believe it. What happened to her? Nobody could tell me anything, so I didn't get to search it, on there like I could have. But it is sad. But I had to look at it like she's no longer suffering anymore. I mean, she was what? She had a good long life. I mean, she was in her 70s.
Into her 70s.
Yeah, so I mean, she didn't get to live as long as Betty White, but
Only a slim percentage of Americans are going to enjoy that.
but I mean, heck, I hope I make it to 70. That'd be, to me, I mean, no one wants to die at all, but if I can make it, into my 70s or even my 80s, I'll feel pretty lucky. And I think anyone would be. And she made a huge mark in this world
Yeah.
with her talents. And she'll be remembered because every single time someone listens to one of her songs or watches one of her movies, she'll live forever. I mean, that's how I look at it. Not all of us have that, are going to have that, that mark on society, that when somebody hears a song or sees a picture, a movie picture, they're going to say, oh, I remember her. She was, she was an icon or she was an idol or whatever. I think that's the best thing that anyone in her position could possibly ask for, to be remembered that way.
Yeah.
Because I think she only had one child.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm just going to look real quick and see what it says. Yeah, their daughter, her name was Cleo Rose. She was born in 1986.
Really been a rough year for celebrity and athletic deaths. We had that one day where you had Bill Russell and a couple other real famous people pass on, Nichelle Nichols, and it's been just a rough year.
Yeah.
Hey, Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective, how you doing, sir?
Yeah, that was really sad because to me that was won't be long and there won't be anyone left from Star Trek.
We're down to 3.
Yeah, and that is gonna be tough for me. That was a big show that my dad got me into watching, and that's going to be really tough for me. I think. I mean, it's always tough when someone that you cared about or whatever is gone, but when they're the last one, from an era or a series or things that that you really were into and you fell in love with their character, even though it's not really them. Because I know William Shatner is not
He's not Kirk,
but because of him portraying that character, it made me fall in love with that character. So.
And I appreciate Shatner as much as I hated him in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And it was rough in the 70s watching TJ Hooker. What model vehicle will William Shatner jump on now?
Slide across. But you know what? I never watched that show.
I don't know how to talk to you about this because that show gave us Heather Locklear.
Well, I don't know. I worked all the time. It seemed like I worked all the time just so I could afford to be on my own. And that was all I did was I worked. And because I wanted my own money and I wanted to make sure I paid my way, and I saved. I like to save. I still that way. I find something I want and I try to make a little bit of money and put it aside, and then I go buy it. And then I start saving again for the next addition to whatever it is I need. Like right now, I need so bad, I need a new chair for this computer, because I'll be sitting in it and all of a sudden it starts going beep, beep, and it starts lowering down. Yeah, it's just, but little steps like beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep, real slow. And I'm like, oh, it's so irritating. So just little things like that I'm working on. But my daughter did buy me something. It was so cool. It's a little round thing that pops up. It's a green screen that hooks to the back of your chair.
Really?
And it's a great big circle. So once I figure out how to use that, that'll be really cool. So it mounts to the back of your office chair or whatever for streamers. And it's really neat. I don't know how she found it, but she saw it somewhere and she said, I had to buy this because I thought you would really like it. So I'm going to check it out once I can figure out some of this other stuff that I'm still working on, trying to do for myself. I mean, I've made a couple videos, so I'm doing, it's coming along.
I enjoy your book. I really do.
Oh, it's going to be really good. Once I'm starting to, I just got to the part where Jeanette is now going to become a vampire, so she is bit. So we'll see from that part. But I was having problems with my computer sound. It was not. It was echoing, and so I took everything off, put it back on. It was still doing it, so I didn't know what I was doing wrong, and I had to watch like 25 different tutorials to try to help me do this, that, and the other. It's finally I got to work again, and I had to wear headphones, my little earbuds in my ears to do it and stuff like that. And it's just irritating because I did not want to have to do that. But I guess I'm gonna have to invest in getting me my own little boom, different stuff. I'm slowly doing it, but I'm not in any hurry. I'm just taking.
I got this little thing. This is a $70 Razer.
That's what I
microphone.
have.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, mine, it works good, but everything that I looked up, it definitely wasn't the microphone. It was somehow what I was doing with the settings. But see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to learn, is all the intricate stuff in the background that you use to do certain things. And I know, I just don't want you to hate me from me sending you so many messages saying, how do I do this? And what does this mean? And how do I figure this
I
out?
try to give you the best answer I have.
I know, and you
if I
are.
don't,
You're helping me a lot.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's
like
good.
me picking out this computer and this monitor and everything that I've gotten going so far. I mean, it's really good. It really is simple once it clicks. You know what I mean? Then I'm like, oh God, it's that simple. It's just funny that it takes so much just to get to that point. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But
That's how it is. So that's the game.
I'm chugging along, and that's all I can say is that I'm doing something right because it's slowly coming together, and so that's a good thing.
It's about just a little over. Yeah, about Bowsette. I hear you. I'm looking at Meta PCs. They have financing available, and they're reasonably priced. They have some things that I'm not excited about. An i5 again. That's a processor, Janet. An i5 is a lower tiered processor, but everything else in the package is swollen. It's huge. It's moving. And my old laptop from 2012 is an i5. This one that I'm working on right now is an i7. Kind of want to go up, but my laptop that I've got is from 2012, my virus machine, and I use that for music. So,
Well, I have a laptop, and that's when I have my my screenwriting, editing, that kind of stuff on it. And I don't like having anything on there besides that kind of stuff. So that's totally separate from my other PC, which has mostly family pictures on it. And it's got like Excel and other stuff
social
on it.
media.
Yeah, but some of the social media stuff, but it's not big. It's a very small for just home use.
Yeah.
And whenever I started to play a couple games or whatever, it was slow. Yeah, it was real slow, and it was
Yeah.
just irritating because it sucked. Okay, when it came to that stuff. So when I started wanting to do more of this stuff, I could do more on my phone than I could
Yeah.
do on my PC, which was like, what the? How in the heck does that work? How could it be so easy and turn out so good on my phone, but when I try to do it on my computer, it looks like crap.
Your you set up your current tower unit the way I set up my laptop that I bought in 2015. When I bought in 2015, I got a PC that would lead you to streaming and being able to stream games.
Uh-huh.
I need to go take it in and get it blown out, get all the ventilation back to where it needs to be because the poor thing is 7 years old, but it's 7 years old and it's still running most games at the high end of the spectrum. It's just that the temperature creeps up a little bit too much for my liking. And I don't play a lot of games anyway. I used to play Fortnite with Steven and Mackany, but now I'm just playing Quake, which is my ideal game, and that's just me.
What's funny is like when I took some pictures of my computer, console and stuff, and sent them to you because I was wanting to make sure I didn't get ripped off because I didn't know enough about that stuff because it's pretty and it lights up on the front and you can see inside, from the side and all that stuff. I was like, this guy's trying to rip me off. But when you said some good comments about it, I was like, okay, well, I'm talking to someone I trust and I know he knows computers. So I feel like, okay, now I got the right computer. I got a nice monitor. Now I just need to learn how to use everything and put the right programs on it. So that's what I'm trying to do. So we'll see what happens, but it's like a one day at a time, a learning journey for myself, and everyone that's following me now will already get to watch my day by day journey, which is
Yay!
kind of exciting for me. But we'll see what happens. It's only way up. That's it. I'm going up. Period.
Next
I'm gonna go
week,
down.
next week we're going to watch this movie for next Monday night. We'll
Uh-huh.
discuss one of my 1994. I was 19 and I was not able to go to the theaters much. Now I have an option to go and grab all the movies from 94 that I haven't seen yet.
Hmm.
This one here is one that I actually took my roommate's wife out to see because we were off that night and he was on duty, and it looked bad, but I don't care. I'm like, you have a car. Can you take me to the mall so I can go see this movie? I need to go see The Professional. And that was before the Crow came out by about 3 or 4 months.
Hmm.
Professional was one of those earth-shattering films that I didn't think they could make a movie like this.
Is it a European made film? Because I think
It is, but the Americanized version has a lot of scenes that are not in the European version. The
okay.
European version is more Roman Polanski,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really shy away from that in the European side. The American side, it stays away from it. But we'll discuss Leon the Professional,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of people enjoy this movie, even though there's parts of it that make them uncomfortable. But you have to understand the main character; he's a bit slow, and so he identifies not as a child, but he just can't really compete in an adult world. He's talented with what he does. He's a savant, but
Yeah.
he's horrible being an adult. He's much better being a child. And he likes the fact that he has somebody that is smarter than him, and that's how I think he treats Matilda. He does love her, and you'll see that in this movie, but he was an interesting case study.
Yeah, I haven't seen this movie. I just looked it up, and I'm reading about it a little bit, and I've not seen this movie. Now I remember seeing the trailer and when it was at the theater and all that stuff, but I did not. I did not. I never did watch it, and I haven't
No.
watched it on DVD. So this will be my first time to see it. So hopefully it'll be good. So I don't really want to, know
I
too
won't talk
much about it.
here.
So
Tombstone, I knew would be big. You monopolized today's conversation so well, and like this is a movie that I love, and
I hope I love it as much as that one movie. What was it? The Heat.
Heat.
Yeah,
Yes.
that you got me to watch. I thought it was so freaking good. So, I mean, if this is even a third of that, I guess, and it's got Gary Oldman. I love him. I just think he's phenomenal too, an actor, and I think
Did
I would
you
really like
did
it.
you ever see Sid and Nancy?
No,
Okay.
I mean, I hate to say this, but when you do certain things for your livelihood, you don't really tend to do those. Go watch things. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Like if you're a cook, you don't go to your own restaurant and eat, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's basically I just shy away from that kind of stuff. Uh, just like I said, if I see a trailer, okay, and it's really good, it makes me want to go to that movie and see it simply because something about the trailer drew me to it. So, and you know, maybe there's someone in it that I really like, or the story seems really good, or something like that. So that's why I would see a movie. And sometimes I'll go see something because someone else tells me I should watch it, or they want me to go with them to see it. So
Well,
just like I went and saw The Cowboy Way, and I thought it was great when I went and saw it. But when I watched it later on, I was like, why did I like this movie so much?
I can't tell you.
So seeing it as an adult compared to when you're young, it's like it's funny.
Night and day.
Yeah, it's really, really weird. So our parents were right, when our parents said, when you'll grow up one day and you'll see things differently, and they were right. Because I'm starting to see so many things that I wish I didn't have to.
I agree. And I wanted to enjoy the Cowboy Way in 2022, but I didn't. And I'm going to probably say that for the rest of 2022 because that will probably be the lowest rated movie that I indulge in unless you send me in the direction of like something bad.
Well, I definitely will not make you watch Grease. How's
I
that?
appreciate that from a man's perspective.
No, I won't do that to you. But
You
because
watch Victor Victoria.
is bad enough for you, I know. But it was a good movie.
I'm gonna just say this. Julie is not bad material on celluloid. Everybody with a penis loves Julie Andrews. They just don't know it yet. Even if she's dressing up like a man, she's too pretty of a man to be a man. You know she doesn't have a penis. And
Well, um, her man in the movie didn't think she had one either.
yeah,
So
that was a good movie. And I actually you opened me up to where we are next year going to watch the Hills Have the Sound of Music.
uh-huh.
We're gonna watch that.
Okay. That
In
sounds
fact, we're gonna if I can master this Discord thing, boomer moment here. I'll throw you the link or the notification. I'm streaming this over here. Come watch it with me. We'll do that.
yeah,
Okay?
that's
My
what I
wife
was
won't watch that
thinking,
movie.
that I thought Discord you could do that kind of stuff.
You can. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do on Discord that I haven't. I'm finding out because of other people that I follow. They watch different TV series over there,
Yeah.
and they'll send me an invite, and I'm like, "You're watching it on Discord?" And they were trying to tell me, so I went over there, and I'm sitting there going, and there's like 8 other people in this room, and you can see their little avatars or whatever, and we're watching this, and they're all talking, whispering and saying, "Oh my God, did you see that?" or whatever they're talking about. And I'm like, this is freaking awesome
Yeah.
to get to watch a show
With your
with
friends.
other people from all over the United States. I just thought that
Yes.
was I just can't believe it. I'm just in awe of the things that I'm learning
I
simply
don't think so. How's that?
online. That's pretty cool, I think.
I don't think you have to do that, Bowsette. I'm pretty certain we don't have to do that yet. And if they do, well, we just go to Gilded because Gilded doesn't have that paywall.
What's Nitro?
Nitro's the paid service for like $5 or $10 a month.
Well, I watched it and I don't have it,
Yeah,
but I
that's
guess the person that provided it, that brought us all in there, maybe they had it. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but I was able to watch it and I didn't
basic RDM.
have that because I still don't have that. Whatever that is that you have to put on. Is it like an addition that you put on
It's
your
an
app?
additional thing. It's you saying I like you and I want to pay you more money, and that's really not it's not a value that I found in Discord.
Yeah.
Gilded has better product and it's not a paywall in front. They do probably have plans for like a huge paywall set up in the background, and they haven't just initiated it yet because they don't have the coverage that Discord does. But I do like Gilded a lot better because I like how you can lay out your threads and your discussions. And
Yeah, I downloaded that because someone said that I should download it. Well, I did, but I don't know what to do with it. So I have it, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it.
we'll have to figure out this together.
Yeah, we can get set up on that. Then we can do something over there or something. Who knows?
Yes, I like that idea.
Never ending. I mean, we're on the yellow brick road. Let's just keep going. See what happens.
Do you have your movie picked for 2 weeks from now? Don't say it.
No, I have 3 movies that I'm looking at, so I don't know which one I'm going to pick yet.
Okay.
So, but I do have 3 movies set aside. I always try to have 3 movies to look at, and not. I don't always have. I'll have them out, and then someone I'm talking to somewhere, something says something about a movie, and I'm like, we look at that one, and I write it down. That's why sometimes I don't actually have the movie. I have to say, where can I find this movie? Because it ends up being something I pick to watch, and I don't have a way to watch it, so that sucks. So I'm gonna try not to do that again.
All right.
I'm gonna try to make sure I have it, or someone I know actually has it.
I'll see what I can do to help you out.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm really sorry that an icon passed away today. That's really sad.
Nothing about. I don't think anything any of us could have done could have averted that. It's just the fact that we all grew up watching her. A lot of women I knew grow up watching her and wanted to be her. And a lot of guys wanted to date somebody or marry somebody like that.
Yeah.
And that was something that 70s culture said, here's a popular movie and we'll make it for the 50s kids. And everybody was watching it because it had those really badass cars in it, and it had nice leather jackets, and it had a good little dance in it.
Though, I still see people wearing their jeans that way and rolling it up at the bottom still.
Coming back.
And it was funny is because I remember talking to my mom about some of the stuff from the movie, and she was like, well, that's not authentic. Those pants, or the way they're wearing those pants, or the way they're wearing those shoes, that is not how we wore those in the 50s.
My mother will agree with that, and she'll say, now, they did have penny loafers back in the day.
Yes.
And that was the thing. But she didn't. My mom was the same. She didn't think the pants were like that. That was something that happened later on, I think in the 60s or maybe 70s.
Yeah, I think my mom said she did recognize some of the stuff that was in the movie that they were supposedly wearing in the 50s that was from the 60s.
Yeah.
It's what she said. But she said the movie was really good, and that she thought that the song that the girls sang on the pillow, the night sleepover thing, she thought that was adorable. Just different things. And she thought was funny, like the Elvis, the pelvis or whatever, all this different stuff. She thought was just really funny. She thought it was really good. She thought it was a adorable musical, but she didn't agree with a lot of the clothing,
No,
And some of the hairstyles, she said they
it
really didn't have hairstyles like that she remembered.
wasn't
And
super authentic.
no. But that's why I was saying I'm really picky when it comes to that kind of stuff about like there was a movie with Mel Gibson that he was in. That was one of his biggest movies, and it was I can't remember his name now.
Not Passion of the Christ, Apocalypto.
No, not that
Okay.
one. The one where he wore the stripe over his face and he was
Oh, Braveheart.
Scottish. Yeah, Braveheart. Okay, there was a lot of things.
Horrible. No. That is not a historical movie. That is
No,
a
I know.
Hollywood production.
No, I know, but I'm talking about if to try to get it to fit a certain way, just like Grease, it's not a true movie about based on any one reality, basically. But for people that were in that time or people that studied that time, just like what was it? There was a movie Hunt for Red October or something. It wasn't that to do with the submarines.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there was a few people that said that's stupid. People don't have pet dogs on submarines.
That the movie they're referencing is Crimson Tide.
Okay, yeah,
And
that movie then. That's the one.
Gene Hackman is an old school Navy sailor. And there were just certain officers that you will notice that they will take their family with them no matter where they're going. You'll see that. You would see that back then in the 80s and 90s. Because these guys were from the 70s and they thought they were tough.
Yeah.
And they just turned into bitter pieces of authoritarian tyrants, just like, this is my kingdom. I'm the king. Go ahead, Spot. Pee on the radiator. Nobody will give a shit.
But I don't know, just certain things like that. I mean, I'm not like that, I don't think, because I might notice that if it takes me away from the actual movie, it pulls me out because it's way too far fetched to have been in that, then it hurts it. But I give a lot of stuff a little leeway when it comes to any of the stuff in the movie, because as long as it's I'm not taken out of the realm that I'm in when I'm watching it, then it's not bad enough to ruin it for me. You know what I mean? Even if it's not, completely authentic or whatever, I can deal with it. I love your shirt.
So do I.
So where did you get it, if you don't mind me asking?
It was right about the same time that Joe Biden was shitting all over the Vatican.
Yeah, but where'd you get it? I mean,
I went online and I typed in Joe Biden, who shit my pants? And 4 t-shirt places popped up after the Google ads. And I'm like, ping. And I found it like that. So anytime anything happens, I just look for the mean t-shirt places. And that's where I go to. There's a few of them out there.
I mean, I'm looking at it right now on the screen, and the letters actually look like they're sticking out away from your shirt. Like 3D.
They're not sticking out away from the shirt. They're all.
I know, but the way that they're shadowed and everything, they look like they're sticking out. They're like 3D looking. And that is what drew my attention to it. And it's funny as hell, but I love the lettering on that. I think it's a really, really good, a very good shirt. I really like it. It's very funny. It's funny.
Well, chat, we've been here for about 2.5 hours, and I've enjoyed every second of this with you. I have got some new figurines and painted and varnished. And once again, I'll go through the varnish row over here.
Yeah, they're nice.
And then over here, we have those that remain to be varnished, including some dwarven pieces. I can't wait to do this. This will happen over the next night. Actually, the rest of the week.
Do you do it by hand or do you spray them?
I actually like to do by hand. I'm not a big fan of some brush on varnishes, but
Mhm.
I'm finding out that the spray that I used to use is gone. Hey, Grumpy Old Ninja Kintaro.
So they
Uh,
no longer make it anymore. It's not
the
available.
one that I was using, they don't make anymore, but they have plenty that will take the spot. I just haven't gone to purchase it yet. That'll be over the next few nights. I'll be in streams or on chats, and that's what I'll be doing. I have about 223 more figurines. I almost made it one for every day of 2022 at this
Wow,
moment, but
that's amazing.
I did some big figures and I'm happy.
Yeah, there's the ones that you posted and that I got to see. I thought were really really good.
Thank you.
Definitely tell you took a lot of work. You know your time for the little details and stuff, which is other artists definitely would notice that.
Appreciate that.
Some nobody that just isn't into it or into that type of genre or whatever would just not even notice it. But that's just how they are. But other people, like that are into art in any form, basically appreciates other people's forms of art. So I definitely think it's really good, and it can tell the passion that goes in behind it, which makes it even more unique and one of a kind. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it's got blood, sweat, and tears behind it. So a lot of people don't look at it that way, but that's what's in there, and love, a little bit of love. Because that's what I do. Like I go on Twitter Spaces or go watch live streams or whatever and listen, and I work on my pictures. So that's what, or crochet, depending on what I'm working on. But you can't sit and write something like stories or things like that while you're watching or listening to other people's stuff. I might listen to like Enigma in the background, the ones without the voice vocal in it while I'm writing or something like that, because it doesn't take away from what I'm working on. But I can't watch something, I can't visualize something else when I'm trying to work on something I'm writing down on a notepad or whatever. So it just depends. Everybody does their own thing, their own way. But it sure is nice when you get a sense of accomplishment when you look at your work and you're done with it and it's finally finished. You're like, wow, it took forever, but man, it turned out great, and you look at your stuff, you're happy with it. That's important.
Also had to tonight since I'll be back to night shifts again next week. I'm sorry to hear that, Grumpy Old Ninja. I look forward to you coming back to us, my friend.
Yeah,
Um, Starting not this week, but in the future, we will have a raffle on this chat stream on our guy, a girl, a guy, and a movie, and we're gonna have a lucky individual that likes this and bring them into the panel and have them discuss a movie. So we'll give you guys a 2 week notice of what when you win 2 weeks from now, whoever is that person will be bringing you in. We'll have it's a raffle or a contest, a drawing. You're not making millions of dollars with us. We're not making millions of dollars anyway, but we're going to bring in one of our chat members and or offer that position to where one of them can come in and talk chop throughout the entire panel and voice their opinion about the movie we watch, and we want to do that. So
it'd be fun.
I think it'd be a lot of fun. I hope you guys really, if I hope you enjoy the movie and movies as much as we do. But this is something that I'm looking forward to, and it's not my idea. Janet popped this on me tonight, and she's like, "I want to do this," and you've got a lot of people in your chat. I'm like, I wish I had more, but yeah, let's go for it. And she's like, "No, really," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I like this idea. Let's go for it.
Yeah, I think
So,
it's a great idea. I mean, to let the people that like movies as much as we do and like interacting with them, and talking about them get to talk to us and the rest of the chat and tell us their point of view and what they liked and didn't like about a movie too. I think it would be really fun. Totally different perspective added to it.
So the way it's going to work is that one person gets one ability to submit themselves in. At the end of this, when this stream is over and our chat turns into comments, Boomer, whenever you are watching this on the rewind or whatever, or if you just wait for the comment section to open up, get in the comment section and just state a comment. Say what you liked or what you hated about the movie for Tombstone. And we'll do a drawing and we'll have a way of selection. I've got a few different ways I can do it with dice. I'm not going to use the online raffle thing. I don't think that works right. Dice always treat me good. So we're going to use dice, and I will have one person. I'll let you guys know how this works, and we'll do the drawing for it next week during the stream where we discuss Leon the Professional. And then Janet will select the movie for the next week, and you'll be part of that stream. How does that sound? Yeah, I knocked my microphone down. Oh well.
It's durable.
Yeah, it's a durable piece. I love this microphone. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, Grumpy's like, your volume went down. Yeah. Sorry about that. All right. So I'm going to wrap up our panel for the night. And everybody that was in here, I thank you so much for being part of this stream. And I like having you around whenever we're discussing movies. I always look to see what's going on in chat. And sometimes I have chats that are just kind of, come on, get to the good part. And other times chats just explode all over the place. You guys have an entirely 4 conversations ahead of us on what's going on. But
I just wish I was good enough to be able to read the chat and talk at the same time. Maybe
I'll get there.
I'll do it. But
there's sometimes where if I were reading the chat, we would stop talking about the movie, and I want to talk about the movie. If the chat's about the movie, I'll be more than happy to start doing that too. Is that all right?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
But thank you everybody for showing up. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
All right, so Shadow and Sun, Grumpy, Old Ninja Kataro, Cigar DM, Bowsette, Calvinani, and everybody who was a part of tonight's stream. Oh, one last thing. Our friend Bone is in the hospital. He's got some weird thing going on. Should be out of the hospital. MRI scans, just day 6, not a lot of food, not a lot of water. He misses his cat. He misses his pet. The pet that sustains him emotionally at his house while he eats real food. But Bone's in the hospital. If you guys have the chance to throw a few prayers or positive feelings towards our friend Bone, please do. Really would like to see that guy in the chat and say something like, I'm at home, I'm not in the fucking hospital. Because I was there last year and it sucks.
Yeah, I've been talking to him a little bit, and I just hope he gets better and gets to go home and recoup.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, guys.